This is A-Game. Fast acting, long lasting, with no side effects.
Hey all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey there, my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel. I am your host, femininity coach, and author of The Crimson Cure, and this is my perspective. So today we are doing a follow-up on the continuing ongoing case of Lauren Smith Fields, which was the young 23-year-old lady who was found deceased in her apartment after having a date with a zaddy that she found on Bumble, the dating app. And they never really, they really mishandled this young lady's case. The police department really mishandled this young lady's case, really mishandled even the breaking of the news to the family that the young lady had passed away. And just the entire thing was bumbled from beginning and onward. I'm going to go ahead and read an article to you about it. I may read a second article. I'm not sure. But let me go ahead. Let me share my screen. Let me read the article. And then we're going to be back to talk about this. And let me give my perspective. So one moment. Okay, Lauren Smith Fields' Bumble date says he's not the main focus of investigation and is fully cooperating. The older white man who went on a Bumble date with Lauren Smith Fields the night before the Black 23-year-old died has been fully cooperating with police and is not the main focus of investigation into her mysterious death, according to his attorney. Matthew LaFountain, 37, was the last person to see Miss Smith Fields alive before she was found dead in her apartment in Bridgeport, Connecticut on the morning of the 12th of December. Police said it was him who called 911 to report that he had found her not breathing and with blood coming out of her right nostril. Mr. LaFountain has remained silent ever since, while Miss Smith Fields' family have demanded answers and questioned the police department's refusal to ever even consider him a person of interest. 6 weeks from her death, the medical examiner finally revealed on Monday that her cause of death was an overdose of a cocktail of drugs, including fentanyl, prescription medications, and alcohol. The following day, Bridgeport police said that they were opening a criminal investigation into her death. Ms. Smith Fields' family said the 23-year-old did not use drugs and have questioned how the lethal combination got into her system. Mr. LaFountain is not charged with any crime and has not been named a person of interest in her death. His attorney, Peter Karianis, told News 12 that Mr. LaFountain had nothing to do with Miss Fields' death and has cooperated fully with authorities from the start. I think it's the media that's made him the main focus of investigation. He did fully cooperate, and he's not the main focus of the investigation. How many times they're going to brainwash you and say that? Mr. Karianis said he hopes the new criminal probe will get answers as to what happened to the 23-year-old Stanford High School graduate, and said the 37-year-old will continue to help authorities. We will continue to cooperate with authorities to help definitively determine what happened to Lauren on that evening. The DEA is involved now, and they will help local authorities investigate the matter and help get to the bottom of what happened to Lauren. Mr. Karianis said Mr. LaFountain wanted to express our sincerest condolences to Lauren Smith Fields' family for this tragedy that took place. Right. And we want her family to find some peace after this heartbreak and loss. When reached for comment by the Independent, Mr. Karianis pointed to his statements to News 12 and said he had no further comments on the case. We have no further comments at this time. Darnell Crossland, the attorney for Miss Fields' family, pushed back on the statement, telling the Independent his condolences brought no comfort to her family. He questioned why the 37-year-old had not come forward to voluntarily offer DNA samples and why he had been acting evasive since her death by changing his name on social media. The family feels that if this gentleman was the last person with their daughter before she died, he should have already called my office or had his lawyer call my office and express that he really wants to help us figure out what happened here. Also, he should voluntarily give a DNA swab so we can compare it to the condom and other items of value in the house, such as alcohol bottles. Mr. Crossland said Mr. LaFountain's story that he told police doesn't add up with the evidence inside the apartment where she died. He said in the police report that he slept with his clothes on and that they didn't have sex. Take a look in the bathroom and you see a condom still had DNA in it. It wasn't dried up. It doesn't add up. Mr. Crossan said, as the last person to see Miss Smithfield's alive, Mr. LaFountain should have been treated as a person of interest from the start. Police were called to Miss Field's apartment around 6:45 a.m. on the 12th of December by Mr. LaFountain, who said he had met her 3 days earlier on Bumble and had gone on a date with her the night before her death. The man told investigators he came to her apartment that night and that they were drinking a bottle of tequila together, according to the police report. He said she went to the bathroom to vomit at one point before they continued to drink, eat food, and watch a movie. The man told investigators she received a text at one point and briefly went outside, saying she was meeting her brother. When she returned, she went into the bathroom for around 15 minutes, the man told investigators. He said she fell asleep on the couch and he carried her to her bed, lying down and going to sleep next to her. The next morning, he said he woke to find Mrs. Mill wasn't breathing and that she had blood coming from her right nostril, according to the report. He called 911 and officers arrived on the scene to find the 23-year-old lying on her back on the floor and that she did not appear to be breathing. So how'd she get from the bed to the floor? Anyway, she was pronounced dead at the scene and responding medics said she had been dead for at least an hour. The medical examiner released her cause of death on Monday as an acute intoxication from fentanyl combined with prescription medications, promethazine, and hydroxyzine, and alcohol. Her manner of death was ruled an accident. Bridgeport police announced the following day that its Narcotics and Vice Division was opening a criminal investigation with the help of U.S. DEA to determine the factors that led to her untimely death. Mr. Crossan said that the launch of the probe is an emblem of sunshine to Miss Smithfield's family after being left in the dark since her death. However, he said they fear they may have lost valuable evidence due to the 6-week lag in the investigation. The release of the autopsy and launch of the criminal probe came only after her family threatened to sue city and police officials over the alleged mishandling of the investigation into her death. Mr. Crossan announced on what would have been Mrs. Smithfield's 24th birthday on Sunday that they were filing a lawsuit for violating their civil rights and failing to properly investigate the mysterious circumstances surrounding her death. In a notice of claim found by Mr. Crossan and naming Bridgeport Mayor Joseph Ganim and Acting Police Chief Rebecca Garcia, among others, the family alleges that the Bridgeport's Police Department failed to adequately collect physical evidence from the home as part of the probe, including a sedative pill, a used condom, the bloodstained bed sheet, and alcohol bottles. Officers also refused to consider Mr. LaFountain a person of interest and have been racially insensitive to Miss Field's family. They also allegedly failed to notify her family members of her death, leaving them to learn of her death when they showed up at her apartment concerned for the safety and saw a note on the door. One investigator allegedly described Miss Field's date to the family as like a nice guy. Mr. Crossan told the Independent that if the races of Miss Fields and Mr. LaFountain were reversed, the investigation would have gone down a very different route. The suspect was a white male, and they say he seems like a nice guy, so off you go. The victim, a black female, and he dragged her out of the apartment and sent her to the ME's office and locked the door. He added it wouldn't be the case if this was a white girl who died in the home with a black, almost 40-year-old male. It just wouldn't happen in America in that scenario. Okay, so I had to go ahead and read the entire article to you. And this is why I titled this Black Women Will Never Be Gabby Petito. Gabby Petito was just recently, in last year, towards the end of last year, there was a huge manhunt and a huge case made over Gabby Petito's missing body. Her and her fiance had gone on a cross-country trek, and then he came back alone without Gabby, and her family was trying to figure out where was she, what had happened to their daughter. And this was down in Florida, and the local police there barely questioned that man, barely questioned him, even allowed him to get away from them and escape off until he had an untimely death in the woods where he was trying to camp and, do bushcraft and all this kind of stuff, trying to get away from the law and trying to get away from the responsibility of having to answer questions about Gabby Petito's whereabouts. When they found his belongings, he had written in his journal that he had admitted and confessed to killing Gabby. And they ended up, I believe, finding Gabby's body. So the reason why, this is why I named it There'll Never Be Gabby Petito, because Gabby Petito, there was a huge news coverage, mainstream media coverage, social media coverage, every time there was a break in the case, every time there was a new piece of information, every time, you know, that there was a press conference or whatever, it was all over social media, it was all over the news. And even in that situation, her fiance was barely questioned and he was allowed to escape the grasp of the law without having to take any accountability for the crime that he had committed. So what do you think y'all are going to do? What do you think y'all are going to do? Y'all can't run into the arms of Zaddy. And the reason why I'm saying run into the arms of Zaddy, for those of you who are possibly in two minds about what her state of mind was and all this type of stuff, this was a young lady, and it's unfortunate what happened to this young lady. What I'm about to say has no bearing on her death or me feeling like she deserved it or anything like that. There's nothing like that I'm about to say. Her death was unfortunate, and I hope that they do get to the bottom of exactly what happened to her. However, I am going to share this little quick. Just, this was a post she agreed with. Okay. This is her, January 29th of last year, this me AF. And what the statement of someone else that she agreed with said, when I started dating white men, just know I tried my hardest with you coloreds. Okay. So I just wanted to quickly show you that. Why did I show you that? To give you this young lady's mindset. This is why she was even with a white man to begin with. Okay. This is why she's even with this guy to begin with, right? And then they let this guy go because he's a nice guy, okay? They left physical evidence in that apartment. They had absolutely no intent to investigate this as a potentially criminal case where there would have been foul play. They didn't care if it was foul play or not. And that's what I mean. This is the other side of the finesse game. This is the other side of the divestment game that no one talks about. Okay? They didn't care what happened to that young lady. Drugs in her system didn't matter. Evidence in the home that they were supposed to take pictures. We've seen it. Take pictures, take that evidence, put it somewhere, put it, you know what I'm saying, mark it, make sure dust footprints, okay, get a DNA swab from that guy. He's automatically a person of interest. You were the last person to see her alive, and she's gone. And it doesn't seem like it, you know, she fell down the stairs or nothing. Okay, she's got something going on in her system. Did you give it to her? What happened here? Did you force it to her? What's going on? They never, ever, ever had any intention. And one of the reasons, this is partially due to the appearance value, whether it's stereotypical or not, of Black women. Black women, you are of little to no consequence in the eyes of the law / the institution that your zaddy is in charge of. You are of little to zero consequence in that machine. You serve. This is the machine that you serve and that you so willingly want to be a part of. The same institution that you will readily throw Black men under the wheels of so he can get ground. You'll be grinded up too, because Zaddy will turn around and throw you into the meat grinder because you are of little to no value to him after you've done your part to get rid of Black men in the way, whatever way, using the law of the land, the institutions in whatever way you can in order to do this, right? And I know this video is going to go a little bit longer, and I do apologize, but I have to say these things. It has to come out. He throws you away because he doesn't value you. And you can't accept that Zaddy doesn't love you. He don't. The fact that you think he's a suitable man in terms of resources, in terms of whether or not he runs the unfair mobility structure that we're in, or any of those attributes that you say that he has versus what black men don't have, that doesn't translate into him liking you. How does you seeing him as a suitable man translate into him wanting, valuing, or loving you at all? That has no bearing on how he see you. Because he doesn't see you as valuable at all, beloved. You're nothing to him. You are a disposable piece of trash to him. And that's how they treating this young lady. They're letting you know you are trash. We don't care what this man did to you, because we already see you as trash. We already see you as promiscuous. We already see you as finessers. We already see you as liars and scammers. We already see you as 304s and thoughts. We already see you that way. You was probably in here selling something, which is why we found, about $1,300 on the table. Like, that's the connection they're gonna make. Whether it's true or not, they're gonna make that connection. And when they make that connection, not only are they gonna dismiss you on the fact of them figuring you a 304, you a black one. So you really not worth nothing. You're not worth nothing, boo-boo kitty. How many times we gotta let you know that this system do not love you? It don't care about you no more than it cares about black men. And you think that because the system is set against black men and that you assist the system against black men, that somehow the system love you. No, it does not. Them Bridgeport, Connecticut police could have cared less. It's her family that is keeping this story alive, not the police. It's her family. It's what they're doing on social media. It's what they're doing in public that's putting a little bit of pressure where at least they open it up as a criminal case. Because they were going to treat it as an open and shut. Oh, this was a thought. This was a thought that wanted to get with a zaddy. She got what she deserved. Open shut. We don't have to look at nothing else. Ain't nothing else to see. Nothing to see here, folks. Bye. I guess she knocked it off. Did not even have the decency to go through her phone to see who her family was, to call somebody or ask the landlord to call or reach out. Okay, this is 2022. You can find anybody, Facebook, you can find anybody and tell them, listen, you need to come down to the station, or go to where the last known address of her family, knock on the door like a decent policeman and a human being, and drop the news to them in person. You initiated, not them having to go find out, you know what I'm saying, by just coming there and being persistent that she was even passed away. When were y'all even going to say she was passed away? Black women, y'all need to really stop. This divestment argument is dangerous because it is getting young women who are impressionable, who don't know no better, who is believing these narratives, to go out there and think that they are safe with a people that has a distinct history of violence against us. How you safe? That's my perspective. That dangerous rhetoric is having real world consequences. This young lady is gone. And none of them police officers care. Only her family care. So my condolences to her family. I hope that they find out exactly what happened to her that night so that they can have some closure and possibly justice if necessary. Sound off in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your host, The Crimson Cure, and this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites. Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor, who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A-Game. At agameherbal.com, you can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another Crimson Cure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.